I recently came across this headline related to Amal Alamuddin and George Clooney, and I had two conflicting thoughts. First of all, I was wondering, how did they make it for so long together? And then secondly, I was like, nah, they're never gonna separate. They are two fixed signs. She's an Aquarius, he's a Taurus. They're not gonna give each other up so easily. Now, because I'm filming this under a Jupiter and Gemini sky, of course, contradiction is the nom du jour. Everybody's having contradictory thoughts at the moment, so it didn't surprise me that I was entertaining two versions of the truth in my mind at the same time. But it did intrigue me. As an astrologer, I really felt the need to dive a little bit deeper into their birth charts and see what I could find. And oh boy, I found a wealth of really interesting and fascinating aspects that brought Amal together with George in this love connection. Not only that, but they are up against some fascinating transits. And in this clip, I'm going to break them down for you. Hey there, welcome to the Spiritual Cosmos. I'm Alexandra Macht, I'm a certified astrologer, and I love to talk about celebrity news pieces. This video today, I'm going to break down the synastry connections between Amal and George. We are going to be looking into some of the specific things in their birth charts, and I'm going to try to give you an answer to the question, will they break up this year? Before I dive into an analysis, I really need to show you their charts. So this is George's chart. And here you can see Amal's chart. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you want to have a deeper look at some of the images that I'll be displaying, but I'll be putting their charts over here so that you can follow along as I describe some of the things that really stood out to me. So one thing right off the bat is the fact that there is a considerable age gap between Amal and George. Apparently there is a 17 years difference between the two of them. So this would position them as members of two very distinct generations. And there is right off the bat a really unique feature that both of them share in their specific North Node placement. So George is a member of the so-called Gen X generation. He was born with a Pluto in Virgo. And what's fascinating is that his Pluto is also conjunct his North Node, the point of destiny, of uncomfortable growth and of becoming in this lifetime. In addition to this, Amal is a member of a generation that has received no name so far in the collective. It tends to be lumped in together with the millennials, but this is the Pluto in Libra generation, a generation of beauticians and aestheticians in my view. It describes a group of people that were born towards the end of the 60s and throughout the majority of the 70s. Now, in spite of the fact that Amal doesn't have Pluto in the same sign as George, she does have the same marker, Pluto conjunct the North Node in Libra in her chart. So we see here two individuals that are powerfully pushed in the direction of their destiny by the transformative and intensely emotional energy of the planet Pluto. And yes, I do consider Pluto to be a planet and not a demoted dwarf entity, because I do think that from an astrological point of view, it is very important in assessing the degree of transformation and the way in which an individual absorbs collective shocks into their personal life. Okay, so this small clarifier to the side, I know it's a bit weird that I began with their Pluto and North Node placements, but they do make a lot of sense because having a North Node in Virgo means that George is meant to develop structure and become increasingly more organized and more pragmatic. He is supposed to not let go of things in this lifetime, but to really hold on to them, to be loyal and hardworking. While for Amal, she is supposed to fight for justice. And we can see that because she is actually a human rights lawyer and she's actually acing, in my viewpoint, this Pluto conjunct the North Node in Libra vibe. Not only that, but Amal is meant to let go of being highly independent and develop a relationship of deep interdependence, negotiation, and communication with a chosen life partner. So we see that in spite of the fact that they have rather incompatible South Node and North Node placements, they are in a way helping each other achieve each other's destiny points through the means of this partnership. Okay, moving on to their more common placements. Let's have a look first of all at Amal's chart. She was born a Sun in Aquarius conjunct Venus, so no wonder this woman is so so gorgeous. We also know that she's gorgeous also because she has been undergoing cosmetic surgery. She has actually been quite open and honest about it, saying that it's important for her to look good and perfect for the cameras. So I kind of give it to her that she's been so outspoken about it. But yeah, she was born with this beautiful Venusian energy to begin with, so I doubt that she needed more tweaks, but you know, to each their own. As a Sun in Aquarius, she does prize a lot how she looks, how she comes across. She wants to be an individual that comes across as pleasant, educated, intelligent, polite, and a great conversationalist, and these are the qualities that recommend her. If we look at her Sun in Aquarius sitting in a very beautiful trine to her Pluto and North Node placements, we can see that she actually took it upon herself as her life's mission, as her destiny, to not only create balanced relationships with the people around her based on equanimity and justice, but also to beautify herself and her environment, because both Libra and Aquarius, as air signs, they put a high price on appearances and being pleasant and intelligent. In addition to this, Amal has a moon in Sagittarius, and it is conjunct Neptune, which makes her act a little bit like a moon in Pisces. So she has a very soft solar energy, and in combination with her softened lunar energy, I can see that she is a sweetheart. I mean, I don't think it took long for George to fall head over heels in love with her, because she has all of these seductive, charming qualities that recommend her already built into the architecture of her energy. With a moon in Sagittarius, she is quite adventurous. She appreciates big picture thinking. She likes to succeed. She likes to win cases. She likes to promote important values and causes. She can be with her head a little bit up in the clouds, especially since we have a moon conjunct Neptune energy, which tells me that she really is idealistic and humanitarian. She really wants to help people based on a connection to a higher force, a life philosophy, and a deeply spiritually held belief. It's not only because she wants to do her job and that's it. She wants to cash in and move forward. No. This is a woman with a strong set of values, and according to those values, this is how she coordinates her life and her work. She is also a romantic, very sweet, but she also requires a lot of downtime and protection because she can be quite sensitive as well. And of course, I attribute that Jupiterian lunar energy to the fact that she's always smiling. She always seems easy breezy. She doesn't take life too seriously, which is a very strong characteristic of a well-functioning moon in Sagittarius placement. Now, on the other hand, if we look at George's chart, he tends to have more earth and water sign energy, which is a bit contradictory because she brings the fire and the air, he brings the water and the earth. In some way, it kind of works. Together, they have balanced elements. For George, he has an ascendant in Pisces, which is loosely conjunct Chiron and the South Node. We also see there a sun in Taurus conjunct Mercury, and we also see there a moon in Capricorn conjunct Saturn. Fun fact, he shares this placement of a moon in Capricorn with Brad Pitt. So two of the most expensive and well-loved actors in Hollywood, Brad Pitt and George Clooney, have a moon in Capricorn. Coming back to George, so it's fascinating because with the moon conjunct Saturn, this tells me that this is an individual that has been through the school of hard knocks in life. He comes from a relatively tough background, a background in which he had to show a lot of stoicism, kind of suffered some parental abuse or neglect or a lack of a very strong paternal figure, or if there was a strong paternal figure, it wasn't necessarily the most positive or optimistic vibe. This is a sign of a man who has the inner world completely shadowed by a lot of fears. He worries a lot. He takes everything to heart very personally, and he's quite sensitive, but he's not going to show that. On the contrary, he's going to be cool and calm like a cucumber on the surface, while inside he is maybe crumbling. So he has a very strong karmic marker related to his inner world, the world of emotions. This is also the marker of a person that tends to fall in love or get married at a later point in life. And we can see that it actually took him a while until he found Amal. And it was interesting because apparently they met in 2013 when he invited a friend for a dinner party, and that friend decided to bring a +1, and this +1 was Amal. So they met at his villa in Italy on Lake Como, and apparently that's where they also decided to get married 1 year from the moment when they met. Now, the reason why I brought up this meeting and the age gap is the fact that it's a perfectly normal thing for a person with the moon conjunct Saturn to get married later on in life after living their lifetime like a bachelor or bachelorette, and to have a considerable age gap in the connection with their beloved. So it didn't surprise me the fact that they were 17 years apart. I actually felt from the beginning that they fit very well. Not only that, but George being a rather perfectionistic and stability loving sun in Taurus, he really needs to have a partner that ticks a series of boxes before he settles down and commits to somebody. His counterpart doesn't only have to be beautiful, but she has to be intelligent and to have her own money. She needs to come from a good family and to show signs of health. And it seems that Amal satisfied all of those requirements, because otherwise I think that George would have had a passionate love affair with her, but he wouldn't have ended up marrying her. It is important for a Taurus to marry somebody that contributes to their wealth rather than takes away from it. And this is why most Taurus men are only going to marry women that tend to either come with their own business or with their own family money, or they come from a moneyed background in some way, like an inheritance or old money. It is very difficult for a Taurian to get married just because he found somebody beautiful or just because they are feeling intensely for a specific individual. A Taurus will always choose financial stability over love and romance, no matter how hard it hurts them or their lover. But I see that in this case, Amal actually satisfied all of George's requirements, and he seemed ridiculously happy around the time when he met her and married her. I do need to mention something quite cute, which is the fact that their children, they have two children, twins, Ella and Alexander. They were born on the 6th of June 2017, and it's fascinating because they are twins and they were actually born with the astrological sun sign Gemini. Now the twins are having a really good year because Jupiter in Gemini is currently, at the time at which I'm filming this reading, really bringing them a lot of good luck and a lot of growth. But the really fascinating aspect is that if we have a look at Amal's birth chart, she has a natal Jupiter in Gemini. So the fact that she had children born with their sun touching in conjunction upon her Jupiter shows me that her kids really make her happy. They really bring a lot of good luck and abundance and growth in her life. It's a wonderful thing to have a parent in which you have Venus or Jupiter strong contacts with, especially the moon as well. The moon can also work in a really beautiful way, because this means that you have some very loving, sweet, soft and lucky bonds with your parent. Anyway, coming back to the Jupiter placement of George, he was born with the natal Jupiter in Aquarius, and it touches perfectly in a conjunction on Amal's Sun and Venus. So we can see that the way she looks, her personality, her goals in life, her beauty, the way she makes money, the way she styles herself, all of these things bring him so much happiness. When you have a partner whose Venus or Sun touch upon your Jupiter, this is like constantly having a playful partner that makes you laugh and makes you feel like everything is gonna be okay and that you can have adventures and that you can goof around. This is a constant fountain of joy that exists between the two counterparts. Now, George, on the other hand, doesn't have specific points or planets in Gemini that can really light up Amal's Jupiter, but she has the children, so the children really light her up. In a way, I see that the flow of energy between them is that George seems to be made very happy and is obsessed with Amal, and Amal is made very happy and is obsessed with the children. Another fascinating thing is that Amal's moon in Sagittarius is actually conjunct George's midheaven. So this means that her role as a mother, her role as his wife, and the fact that she shows emotions in a specific way really amps up his public image. So he benefits from all of these additional private elements that Amal brings into his life. The fact that she is a humanitarian lawyer that fights for social causes really amps up his own public persona and also his career chances. So he's seen better at work through the fact that his wife has become a mother and expresses emotions in public in a very magnanimous, generous way. So we see that they do have some really interesting energies that are binding them together, in spite of the fact that traditionally they wouldn't be compatible. If we have a look at her Sun in Aquarius, who is quite rebellious and innovative and original and kind of spontaneous and a little bit chaotic in the best possible way, it doesn't fit really well with the traditional, stable, habituated, kind of grounded and stubborn energy of a sun in Taurus. So normally they wouldn't be compatible according to their sun signs. In addition to this, in terms of their moon placements, also I don't see a great compatibility there. This is mostly because her moon in Sagittarius tends to clash with his moon in Capricorn. His moon in Capricorn wants predictability, wants to make money, wants to know what to rely upon, enjoys routine, and is a little bit emotionally attached to work, while her moon in Sagittarius enjoys big picture thinking, traveling, enjoys being around pets and children, likes to teach, and likes to enjoy her freedom. However, the fact that her moon is conjunct Neptune, which makes her lunar energy act in a softer, more Piscean way, and the fact that his moon is conjunct Saturn, which kind of amplifies the protective Capricornian energy, this tends to work well for them at the level of emotional compatibility and choosing the way in which they relax when they are at home in their private little world. And the fact that George has his sun conjunct Mercury, this gives him a kind of like restless, brainy, very youthful and alert vibe most of the time. So he tends to come across as a Taurus with a little bit of a Geminian kind of vibe. And as we know, Geminis are compatible signs with Aquarians, while for Amal, the fact that she has her sun in Aquarius conjunct Venus gives her this more like Taurian vibe, this Empress kind of energy that is more stable and grounded and quite sensual as well. So we see how the conjunctions that they have to their sun and their moons, all the other planets that are placed in their birth chart, they tend to soften the energies that could lead to incompatibilities between the two of them. Some interesting points of tension there. I see that Amal was born with a Mercury in Capricorn, which falls straight in between the moon conjunct Saturn in Capricorn placements of George. Now, this could be quite calming for him and quite irritating for her. For example, I do think that from time to time, the excessive materialism and need for stability and security that George could display could really irk Amal. It could make her feel like she can't speak, like she can't express herself for fear of making him worried or triggering some sort of deep fears inside of him. So she has to choose her words very carefully, and I think that from time to time she would appreciate it if she could talk more to him or discuss things in a more relaxed manner, because George's lunar energy and his Saturn tends to block her capacity to think and to structure her words. So they could have some arguments and misunderstandings related to these placements. In addition to this, I see that Amal was born with a Saturn in Leo, which falls on George's 0-degree Mars in Leo. So again, this is an energy that could lead to some frictions because she tends to block his enthusiasm. He may want to relax or he may want to perform in certain roles, and she could actually bring down the law and say, no, you can't do this. Saturn has a very restrictive and inhibiting energy on the Mars energy of George. So his virility, his passion, his desire to take action, to be brave, to jump into situations is stalled somehow by Amal's Saturn in Leo. Now, this could also have a positive benefit because she tends to temper him. She calms him down. If he gets hot-headed or if he wants to argue, she tends to bring him back down with his feet on the ground. Not only that, but a Saturn-Mars energy can also lead to some sort of memorable times in the bedroom that are very calculated, are very carefully planned. They lead to a lot of re-warming up, and it also leads to the natural creation of children, fertility that is being slowly released in time. So we see that from that point of view, procreation and fertility, they were successful. Now, other points of incompatibility I see there in their Venus and Mars placements. As you guys know from my previous videos in which I discussed the Venus-Mars double whammy and how important it is to have the Venus and Mars in similar signs, either a trine, a sextile, or a conjunction would be ideal between yourself and your partner in order to have that strong romantic and sexual compatibility. Well, we see that unfortunately for them, it's not really this case. It's not really bad, but it could also be a little bit better. So Amal was born with a Venus in Aquarius and a Mars in Cancer. That's not really the best placement. It seems to be a tug of war between her emotional needs for protection and her desire to socialize and to be emotionally detached and to learn from friendships and to be connected with a lot of people in positions of power and intelligent individuals that really open up her mind. Now, George, on the other hand, has a lot of fire in his Venus and Mars placements. He was born with a Venus in Aries and the Mars in Leo. His placements are more compatible, but they're not necessarily compatible with hers. His Venus in Aries clashes with her Mars in Cancer, and her Venus in Aquarius sits in opposition to his Mars in Leo. So this could lead to a lot of tension and friction related to how they earn money, how they relate to people in their environment. Her friends may not mingle so well with his friends. There are tensions here related to their levels of energy as well. She may be spending more time investing energy in home and children. He may be spending more time investing energy in himself, his work, and his performances, his assets. And as we saw it earlier, she has that Saturn link there sitting in conjunction to his Mars as well. Not only her Venus and her Sun sitting in opposition to his Mars. So this can be kind of a push and pull attraction. One moment they are head over heels in love with each other. The next moment they're very detached and cold and they need some space from one another. And I do want to point one final thing before I jump into an analysis of their transits, because the transits are fascinating. But Amal was born with a South Node in Aries and a North Node in Libra. And George was born with a South Node in Pisces and a North Node in Virgo. So again, there is a slight incompatibility there between the ways in which they find their comfort zone. He tends to be a bit more creative, imaginative, pleasure prone. He's very romantic as well when he is in his comfort zone. He tends to be a traditional kind of family guy with traditional values. And he's learning how to structure his time better, how to not let go of things, how to be loyal, hardworking, and a bit more organized. Also how to take better care of his daily routine and health. While she, on the other hand, is very confident. She knows who she is. She is playful. She has a wicked sense of humor. She can be quite competitive and confrontational when the situation requires it. She knows her worth with that South Node in Aries, but she needs to tone down a little bit this passionate fire and to listen to other people's opinions, to learn how to relate to other people, to not spend so much time alone and self-sufficient. She needs to negotiate important deals. She needs to prioritize the needs of others over and above her own. With that North Node in Libra, she's basically learning how to love and how to relate with other people in a calm and harmonious manner. The fascinating thing from the point of view of transits is that Amal has just wrapped up 18 months of having a reverse nodal return. In the last year, in 2024, we have been having the transit of the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra sitting in opposite ends, crossing over her South Node in Aries and her North Node in Libra. So that was a challenging time for her, but also a time of fresh opportunities appearing in her life. Opportunities which she is now amplifying and maximizing because she's experiencing her Jupiter return this year. And this transit of Jupiter in Gemini is affecting both her life and the life of her children in a really positive way. Now, the issue is that while she is experiencing her Jupiter return, George, unfortunately, is experiencing a pretty tough set of transits. He has just begun his reverse nodal return. From the 11th of January, the nodes have shifted into Pisces and Virgo. And as we see there, at the moment, the North Node is in Pisces and the South Node is in Virgo. But George has the opposite placement. He has a South Node in Pisces and a North Node in Virgo. So what Amal experienced last year, he is about to experience this year. Not only that, but George is having the transit of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces in their final degrees this year, crossing over his ascendant, blocking a couple of the opportunities that he is supposed to gain from life and kind of restricting his movements and maybe even getting him to trim through some of his assets. So as Amal's career is taking off and she's meeting more people and she's becoming like more adventurous, she feels like she's growing because of her Jupiter return. George, on the other hand, may be feeling quite old, quite tired, in need of more rest, a little bit depressed, a little bit blocked in his capacity to grow and expand. So I think this is one of the main reasons why we have been seeing news pieces like this one. Not only that, but since 2018, George has been having a pretty disruptive and chaotic transit. His Sun in Taurus, which is normally quite orderly and stable and set in its ways, has been disrupted by the planet of shocks, awareness, and spontaneity, Uranus. Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018 and is getting ready to leave the sign in 2026. So he's got one more year to go of this madness and mayhem, of this need of space and distance between himself and his loved ones. I am completely really shocked that they managed to survive through this entire transit. Because if you have a look at the analysis that I did recently for Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox, those two couldn't survive that transit. This on and off energy is just really vibing hard in their relationship. But in terms of Amal and George, I do believe that the fact that she was born with this energy naturally, because she was born as a sun in Aquarius, so her sun is ruled by Uranus, in some way prepared her better to handle the madness and the chaos and the disruptiveness that George may have brought into this connection ever since they met. As a fascinating side note, they got married in 2014. 2014 was a year in which Jupiter was having its moment in Cancer, in the sign of its exaltation, and it was conjuncting her Mars in Cancer. So that was a really beautiful year for her to actually feel the drive to root into a situation, to create a home with somebody, to nest and feel protected. And in this year, Jupiter is about to make the 12-year leap back into Cancer. So the moment where it was when they got married in 2014. And it will be fascinating to see if they have a vow renewal ceremony, because my personal belief is that, judging by all the placements in their chart, it's going to be very hard for these two to actually separate. And here are the reasons why. One of the reasons why I think they will not separate is the fact that Pluto has just begun the gradual transformation and dismantling of Amal's identity and beauty and capacity to love and to make money. So she has just embarked upon a 2-decade-long transit of Pluto getting ready to conjunct her Sun and her Venus. When Pluto enters into a person's solar identity, it makes them behave like a Scorpio. And as we know, Scorpio is the shadow energy of the sign of Taurus. George is a Taurus, and he's currently being transited by Uranus, the natural ruler of Amal. So we see there a really interesting transference of energies. George is able to understand Amal's energy better because he has the transit of Uranus in his sign for the remainder of 2025, and Amal is able to mirror shadow energy back to George because she is having the transit of intense Pluto conjunct her Sun, intensifying her emotions and her desire to be intimate with somebody. Another thing that tells me that these two will not separate, or if they do, George is going to do everything he can to keep her by his side, is the fact that he has that very committed and that very strong placement that does not allow him to let go of what he has put emotional effort into. With a Saturn conjunct the moon in stable Capricorn, this is a man that will not let go of what he has acquired in life. In George's case, the fact that it is conjunct Saturn, the natural lord of Capricorn, well, it's like double Capricornian energy, which is like Earth that doesn't want to let go. And if we take this into account with his very stubborn Sun in Taurus, he's going to put his hoof in the ground and he's not going to move. So if any rumors of a separation are happening between the two of them, I tend to not lead them into credence, because I do believe that if they want to separate, it will be something that she may initiate, and it will be a battle till the last because George will not want to let her go. I do believe that it's a little bit boring for her to be with him because he tends to be so set in his ways and she tends to be more of a social butterfly, but he offers her protection and another important thing, visibility and access to the world of celebrities. As a Sun in Aquarius, she has this kind of it girl personality. She likes to be in the limelight. She likes to be adored. She likes to dress up in beautiful ways and have her photo taken. There is an it girl, a young socialite inside the heart of any respectable and intelligent Aquarius woman. And she really plays into that, and I love her honesty for that. So the fact that she is able to be with George, this man that grants her access to the celebrity realm, but also can protect and provide for her, is something that is keeping her in place next to him. But I do think that here he is more emotionally attached and dependent on her than she is on him. And in spite of the fact that they had these really strong Uranus energies between the two of them, they managed to somehow cope with it. They moved around a lot, they bought property, they introduced new elements into their relationship, they allowed each other space to focus on their careers as well, and they held on together. And I don't think that a bit of space at this point in their relationship is going to do them any harm. On the contrary, I do believe that it's going to solidify their relationship. It's a big karmic test for George, who will suffer more from the separation than she will, because as a sun in Taurus with the moon in Capricorn, he really needs to feel his partner close so that he feels like he can love her. He really needs to touch her. He really needs to see her. There is this sensual quality that an earth heavy chart has when it appears in a synastry reading. For her, it's a little bit easier because having air and fire energy in her chart makes her maintain a sense of passionate commitment to her lover, even if she doesn't see him, even if she is not waking up with his face next to her face. There is a little bit of a detachment, an understanding that he will still be there when I come home after I won my case and conquered the world. So yes, this situation is heavier for George. He needs more support at the moment. He's having the heavier transits. She's having the more intense transits, but in a positive, empowering way. I do feel that as his career is slowing down and he's getting ready for a retirement, her career is going to turbo rocket in the next year, and we will see more humanitarian work from her, and she will become even more active in her role as a lawyer. At the same time, I do worry a little bit about them because since both of them have Pluto conjunct the North Node, there could be certain attacks to their safety. There could be certain people that may want to cause them harm and their family, and my heart goes out to them. One person that had this exact same placement of Pluto conjunct the North Node was unfortunately Sharon Tate, the late wife of Roman Polanski, who died in really savage circumstances. I'm not saying that the same can happen to Amal or George. There is this element of shocking death or near-death experiences that Pluto brings when it is conjunct another person's North Node. These are two people that normally shouldn't have gotten together, but in a strange way, their chemistry actually works. Their synastry is replete with really interesting details that when you put them together, you understand why they were so attracted one towards the other. There's another little thing that I need to mention before I let you go. It's a very romantic note, and it does show me that they know each other from a previous lifetime. George's Venus in Aries is conjunct her South Node in Aries. In a past lifetime, they were lovers. So they completed a love affair and they got back together in this incarnation to give each other love during trying circumstances. So it's fascinating to see how souls recognize each other and how when the right transit hits, they tend to become closer or more solidified or even brought apart. We are about to embark this year, starting from May of 2025, on a 2.5-year long transit of Saturn in Aries. Neptune will also join Aries as well. So both Saturn and Neptune conjuncting his Venus and her South Node is going to lead to some blocks and limitations to his capacity to love and to make money, and to her capacity to relax and find comfort. So this indeed is going to be a big test for their relationship. But something tells me that even if in the worst case scenario they separate, it will not be a separation for life. It may not be one that is official. It could just be temporary. It may be just an argument between lovers, but they will find a way to resolve it and to come back to one another, because these are two people that have met at a sensitive point in their life. She actually said that she was resigned with the idea of being a spinster when she met him when she was 35 years old, and he was already past his prime, kind of looking for a wife, looking for somebody that he could call his own after a series of unsuccessful relationships with a lot of Hollywood actresses and models. So I think that they met each other when they were vulnerable. They build a really strong connection that makes them both happy. They have a lot of happiness pointers that bring them together over and over again. And they're also quite stubborn people. As two fixed signs, it's going to be very hard to get them to change their mind. They have two beautiful children. They have a lot of support from the community that George has been part of and the family that Amal has been part of. They have a lot of wonderful things going well for them. So this is why I believe that they will not split, even though they are karmically tested by a lot of dividing transits at the moment. I think that they will stand the test of time. So these were my two astrological sense. Let me know down below. Let's start a conversation. Do you like Amal and George as a couple? Do you dislike them? Why? Do you think that they're going to stay together, or are they going to separate? Do you agree with some of the things I said, or did you notice some other interesting things that I forgot to point out? I'm sure that there were some. Thank you so much for listening. I do need to remind you that I do create synastry charts. If you want to get in touch with me for the creation of a chart between you and a lover, a person on your mind, or even a family member, a friend, I do have that service available. I can also help you with a transit report, a personal birth chart report, and also also a unique on the market report called the Love Asteroids Report, in which I look at how 9 asteroids affect your Venus placement and your capacity to love and form relationships. So get in touch with me. The second link in the description box takes you to where you need to go. Take care, and until next time, let the stars guide the way.